My name is Clive Makombera. I'm a partner here at RSM and I operate in the healthcare sector. Welcome to this bite-sized video series on issues in the healthcare sector. Today we are looking at digital technology and all things tech in the healthcare sector. I'm joined by our resident expert, Sheila Pancholi. Welcome, Sheila. Could you please introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi. Hello. Hi all. Good to meet you. So I'm also a partner at RSM. I lead our national technology risk assurance practice. I've been working in the healthcare space around technology risk for over 10 years now. So yeah, really excited to be running this session together with you today, Clive.
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you for being here today. Could we start off, Sheila, by getting your perspective on what you see as some of the issues in the healthcare space and what you are seeing in the sector?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think what we've seen generally with technology across pretty much all sectors during the pandemic, Clive, is this real shift towards thinking more widely about digital transformation. I think what the pandemic did was it helped us all to think about actually maybe the way of working isn't the most efficient. And, you know, when we were forced into this situation, pretty much all businesses across all sectors having to work remotely from home, what it really did was got organizations thinking about how do we actually, build on those efficiencies and also think about, the wider sort of risk profile of an organization as well, because the pandemic was one challenge that we had to deal with. And obviously for healthcare, it was a significant challenge, but there will be other challenges that, we've really got to start thinking about, particularly from a strategic perspective. So I think for healthcare in particular, given sort of, the history of underinvestment, a plethora of very complex systems that have been developed and integrated over time, lots of providers in the space as well. What we were left with was sort of this legacy that really, needed a huge amount of investment to be able to take forward into what, is now sort of very much the digital space that everybody is expecting all organizations to be working in, let alone healthcare. And I think, the big challenge for healthcare is that service users in particular are becoming more demanding and, they want to have access to systems and data real time. They want to be in charge of, what they're able to do in terms of, their own records, their own appointments, making sure that actually they've got the tools and the technology and that data to hand to be able to do that.
That's right, Sheila. That's right. So we are seeing, in part, because of the pandemic, I think it's accelerated certainly the use of virtual health. You are right that we are seeing patients get more involved in terms of the decision making for their healthcare. We are also seeing more increased collaboration across systems, particularly with the advent of integrated care systems and the need for digital strategies across a healthcare footprint to ensure that partners within the system can collaborate more effectively. So thank you for that. In terms of specific challenges you are seeing for clients, what could you outline as some of the key risks and issues that you are seeing at the moment?
We see a broad range of things, Clive. I mean, if we start sort of on the infrastructure and the system side of healthcare, you've got this sort of landscape of a mix of legacy systems, quite often in-house developed, not very well documented, not a lot of people who understand how the systems potentially, are being managed and supported and operate. And then you've got, this sort of landscape of new technology, new infrastructure being implemented, new apps with, coming via third-party service providers, and sort of the integration of all of that, new and legacy. That in itself is a challenge, making that integration work, because you've got very, very new technology trying to be integrated with some very old technology. Over and above that, I think resource constraints is a huge challenge for the industry.
That's right.
Not necessarily just in-house IT teams, but also, specialists being able to access individuals who understand specialist systems, for example, and have got that sort of broader understanding. When you're implementing something like a patient care system, you're integrating a specialist system such as, say, pathology, you really need to understand the processes. What is it that we're trying to achieve from this system, not just, throwing something in and saying, well, it's up and running, it works. So it's actually having access to those specialist resources, and then on the front line, actually having access to people
That's right.
within the healthcare organisations who've got the capacity, quite frankly, to be able to support and say, this is what we need, this is what our requirements are, and to have the time to be able to test those systems, to be sure that, people are being trained effectively in the use of those systems. So, yeah, I think there's a massive challenge around resources, but on both ends of the spectrum.
Thank you, Sheila. I suppose challenges present opportunities. Certainly, AI, we're seeing an increased use of AI and other technologies in healthcare. What would you point to by way of some of the opportunities that healthcare organizations should be looking to exploit?
It's interesting that you mentioned an AI, Clive. So, artificial intelligence and robotic process automation has been used in healthcare probably longer than most industries, and probably more than we recognize as well. This is not new to the healthcare sector. This technology has been used widely across healthcare for a long period of time. I think what we're now seeing is this emergence of actually thinking more widely around, how can we be using artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotic process automation, potentially even blockchain solutions more widely now across healthcare, not necessarily just what we've seen historically. And we do see a lot of this technology. But I think this is all about, again, digital transformation, strategic planning, really having that bigger picture view of what is it we're trying to achieve and how are we going to get there. And, we've got all of this amazing technology almost, at our hands now. How do we make best use of that? And that's got to be done through strategic planning, obviously resource planning, a huge amount of investment, but really thinking through as well, how much of this does need to be done in-house? How much of this can be outsourced to specialist providers? And we certainly have seen an emergence in sort of, going back to that cyclical view of outsourcing, potentially offshoring, using cloud service provision, a cloud-first strategy, really, really key. And also thinking about sort of, more centralized managed service provision as well, shared service centers, which again, in this industry is not something new, but we're definitely seeing that cycle back around again.
That's very insightful. Thank you. In terms of helping our clients, then, how do we help our clients to either manage some of the challenges you described, or to certainly maximize the opportunities in terms of tech within healthcare?
I think we really need to start from that view of, risk landscape and strategic planning, Clive, having a digital transformation strategy, thinking about, your roadmap for transformation, and also actually building in security in that roadmap as well. Because, I think against the backdrop of all the great transformation that everybody wants to do, we've also got that sort of, increasing cyber threat landscape as well. So
That's right.
security can't be an afterthought. I think one of the things we've certainly seen in the last 2 years or so is many organizations have sort of rushed forward with digital transformation, almost accelerated plans for digital transformation. But in doing that, security has been an afterthought. And obviously what we want to do is to make sure that actually when we work with our clients, security is being embedded into that transformation roadmap. And we are sort of thinking strategic planning, but also we're thinking long-term investment. How do we ensure that we get the best return on that investment? How are we putting users at the forefront of all of this change as well, and making sure that, we're getting enough input and buy-in and, involvement from users. And, when I say users, this is a patient care journey. So, we need to think about our patients as those users, but also obviously all of the people who are working in the healthcare industry as well, they need to play a part in this.
Thank you, Sheila. That was very insightful. Before we go, I just need to plug our next event. We are working with the King's Fund on an online panel on working in partnership on digital transformation. And Sheila will be our panel member on that workshop. Thank you very much. We will see you next time. Bye.